of all, thank you guys for coming down here. I'm too small to really understand the impact of all of this. I just create the art, and I'm enjoying the fact that others are enjoying this day as well, as far as to see my artwork. It's really a privilege and an honor. I won't break down and cry or anything like that, but if you have a box of napkins, you can pass them out. But anyways, it's one of those things where we all start out someplace with some of our talents, and you wonder, it's like, well, where did all of this stuff come from? And even myself, I don't know exactly. But there are people who can look at an object and say, wow, that's really cool, I see a whatever in it. And it's like one time when I was in Tunisia, North Africa, there was a rock formation, and there was some seaweed that was kind of hanging over the edge, and there was like an indentation there, and I told my friend that was with me, I said, you know what, that looks like a face. He said, man, I don't see it. I said, look at it, just look at it. And all of a sudden he says, oh my gosh, there it is. And but I've been gifted in that area to be able to see things and have that creative, side to what I do. One day I was out at a friend's house in Auburn, and there on the wall was this tank right here. And it just had the neatest lines to it. It was the right size. It had all of those vertical and horizontal lines to it and everything. And I looked at that and I said, my goodness, that looks like a spaceship. He said, I don't see it, but he said, if you want to make a spaceship out of it, go right ahead. And so anyways, I bought it off of him. I think it was $25 in trade, because he and I are always trading junk and stuff. And so anyways, I took it back, and I was talking to one of my employees about learning how to weld. And he says, well, he said, I was certified on Abram tanks as far as learning how to weld. He said, I can teach you anything you want. So he and I went back there, and within a couple hours, and let me just interrupt myself here. A lot of skills, people make it out bigger than really what it is. There's just a little knack to it. And if you could just get somebody to show you, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, this isn't so bad after all. And I haven't been able to accomplish that on the piano or any of those other kind of skills. But anyways, he taught me how to weld. And this one project right here took me about 1.5 years to make, that one right there. And I put it in my office, in my business. I have a furniture restoration company out in Grable. And everybody that came in there, I'm sorry, you used to live in Grable.
Yeah.
See, I paid them to do that.
Yeah.
I told them, when I get to this point, I'm going to say Grable.
Sorry, dear.
See, I paid them to do that. But anyways, I put this up in my office in Huntertown, and people would come into my office and say, man, what's this? And I'd say, well, that's my spaceship. And so we started talking about it, and eventually I named it the Probe, because this thing, I even came up with a storyline with this, because people say, well, tell me about it, And so I made up a story that this is the spaceship that's coming off of the Earth, and it's called the Probe. It has a nuclear sensor on the front to detect any kind of life forms or anything like that out there in outer space. And then I started with some of the other ones. Like this one over here, I had to build another one because I was addicted. Everybody liked that one, so I'm going to have to make another one. That one's called The Colony. And so the storyline on that is there are 6 floors of plantations and businesses and medical, and what field are you guys in? It's all there. And so anyways, that's what that one's all about. That's the Colony. And then eventually I made the Saturn. That's this one here. And this one here, the functionality of this one is to, if any of these break down, it hooks on like a tow truck, out in outer space, and it'll take them deep into space, away from the alien activity, because we know there's a lot out there, right? I mean, you guys believe this, right? So anyways, this one here is the communication warship. It has the dual antennas, it has the high-speed machine gun on top, and this is where you entrance, this is the entrance right here. This kind of looks like the rising star off of the Japanese flag. And yet this came off of an old cook stove. There were 4 of these as vents, you know, to kind of cool it down. And so anyways, what happened was in the year 2012, you remember the Aztecs told us that this was the end of the world. And I don't know if you guys remember, but it was horrible. I mean, people were dying all over the place. And so this is like the Philadelphia shipyards where all the ships are being built. And so all of this activity up here, we knew that the aliens were watching us intently, and they were going to come in and destroy our ships because they wanted to get to our natural resources. They didn't want us into their territory. And so as we lifted off, we went to the galaxy, and there it is up there. You can see all the black holes. That actually used to be a Sherwin-Williams lacquer, 5-gallon lacquer pail that we went out and did some target practice on. The black holes up there. But that's kind of how this one developed. And then as time went on, I made this one here. This one is called the Deep Space Oil Recovery Helicopter, and it's sitting on a monopod oil refinery. And what this does is once oil has been discovered, the oil is processed in this refinery, and then it is, the helicopter loads up and takes it to the other ships that are waiting out in outer space, because there is no Earth anymore. Remember, it imploded and the Earth is no more, so now we're hanging out here into outer space. One of the ships that I built was this one down here. We can walk over here and see it, and you can pat me on the back if you want. But anyways, this one's called the Extractor, and this is a really neat piece here. Its job is to find oil and to drill for it. So you can hear what the sound of that is like. If any of you have ever vacuumed your homes, what that sound is. But anyways, it plunges down in the ground. This one here is wet because it has found oil. This one's still dry. But if this bit ever breaks, then it comes out here and replaces that. And these are all piano wires up in here. And let's see what else is on this. This is a little Roman technology, because we don't want the aliens to destroy our ship. And so they could do that through the wheels. And what's happened is we've landed on this planet called Cludon. The reason we call it Cludon is they don't have a clue what they have done to us. And so we have all these little, you can see right here is a camera, there's one there, there's another one down here, and this is a battery of missiles, which are piano tuning pins, and you can see one down here, and there's a camera that can kind of watch them as they come out. And every once in a while, they try to destroy our ships. And so we have to have some security. I mean, even though we are a peaceful, loving people, we all have locks on our doors at home. And this is our security in here as well. But you can see how big this is based on the stairwell that's underneath here. All right, another one is the plow. That's this one down here. The plow is what it is. It plows. And so you can see that it's got a massive piece on the front. These are auger bits, so as this thing has gone through, it's actually trying to get through, knock down any kind of vegetation or like mountainsides or whatever. And if this comes into a rock formation, it'll drill through that as well. Once again, the parts on this is off of a stove. If you can envision a pot up there, this is a speaker. This is a 12-gauge shotgun that has been rendered inactive.
What about the machine gun bullets, Mark?
These in here?
Yes, yes.
Yes, those are all piano tuning pins that fire through this tube. And each one of these communicate with each other. You can see this rake that's on the back. These are my radars, and that actually communicates with the communication warship, and then everybody communicates with each other.
Do they all have passwords?
They do. They're all password protected, and but they also have crypto cards on them, so that everybody changes their cards on that day, and they get a whole new set of information. So nobody can steal our code. This one here is the Reaper, and what we have found is on this planet that all of the vegetation, believe it or not, is electronically connected. Like all of the grass, all of the trees, everything on the ground that you see is electronically connected. So what happens is the Reaper, its job is to cut down all the foliage, and this is just nothing but carnage coming off of here. Trees, grass, and there might be a few Pludons on there, I'm not sure. There's a flamethrower on the middle, in the front of this. These are old scythes that you would see on the farm. And of course there's an old push mower. Anybody in here ever pushed a push mower?
Yeah.
Besides the gas ones you have. So it definitely is the Reaper. What we do here is, this thing actually creates refugees. After we've mowed down their entire cities and everything, we have all these refugee Plutonites, and so we have to process them. We're not trying to kill them or anything. They come up this back stairwell, and one of the things about the Plutonites is if you touch them, they're like electric eels. They will shock you, and so you can see up the stairwell where their bodies have touched the stairwell and sparked. And so there's a trail of that. They come up the ladder, they go around here, and eventually they come into this holding chamber, and we take them back to the deep space oil recovery helicopter, where there is it's kind of like a holding area down below. And what I wanted to tell you about that is, if you can see over here, see that as I go along, I'm not making this up. As we bring them back, they are brought back in these shish kebab fryers right here, and then they are brought down this way, down the ladder, and you can see the sparks around here, and I encourage you to come and verify my story. But they go through this turnstile, and then they get counted on this printing press counter down below, and then they're put into this little McDonald's French fryer where they're held indefinitely. And one of the things that happens is we've done a study on them as to what they want to eat. So here is the food. It's called More Man's Feed, and so that's what they eat. But every 60 days that's how long they live and they die. So we have a high-speed grinder down below, and then there's a little horn that's over here on the side, and when this thing is full of Plutonites, this lever opens up here and out pours Maxwell House coffee. And that's where you get it from. So you look on the back of your Maxwell House coffee, and it says, contents Plutonites. So that's what that is. So, that's good. It's straight. We don't keep you awake all night long. You gotta keep awake. That's the job of it. Now, back to this, the Reaper over here, because there's a little bit more to this, and that is that we have landed on a prison. This is a prison top. This is their roof. And when this landed, we knew with the embedded chips that our people have in them, because we want to keep track of them as to where they are. And so we knew that they were in this prison. And so as this thing landed, we blew a hole in the roof. You can see a raggedy roof hole up there. There's the piece of metal that was folded back. And there's a little stair steps or a ladder that goes down. And then our SWAT teams have gone in and released them through or from the prison that's down below. So we've got all of our people loaded back up, and we're getting ready to take off. This is a paint mixer up here, CO2 cartridges, just a wide array of things. These little light bulbs, they really do a good job of providing light. These are marbles that are siliconed into they're like axle caps for children's toys, you know, the axle caps. And so these are springs off of sofas, and inside are dual springs from rocking chairs, more modern rocking chairs. And on the front of this, there's a valve where water comes out, and after we've done a lot of the plowing and everything, we want to clean off our blades, and so we've got water that comes down through here and rinses that all off. So,
Do you
you guys-
recycle all the electrical stuff that you chewed up?
I'm sorry?
Do you recycle all the electrical stuff?
Well, we try to.
Yes,
We try
that's
to.
good.
Because what we're trying to do, if you notice over there in the deep space oil recovery helicopter, the monopod oil refinery, there are gold deposits. If you look inside, there are gold deposits in there.
Wow. $1,400 an ounce, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
The last thing is over here, which is really the first thing you probably saw when you came down. And I was at St. Francis art show about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And one of the things I noticed while I was observing some of their art pieces in there, they had all of these gray indoor-outdoor carpet rectangular pedestals. And I thought, you know, they really ought to make those look a little more interesting, because, and there's always an ulterior motive, if you have something that's interesting, it'll draw the crowds to it. So you can envision just a straight rectangular gray carpeted box, or something like this. And so if you were to put your art piece on there, I theorized that people would come over and look at your piece before they look at everybody else's. Salesman, am I right? But here's the thing. Everybody who is in the art world is under pressure. You see this little gauge right here? And it says capacity, 2,000 pounds. So you have a certain amount that you can take, right? And eventually you have to let off a little bit of steam.
A relief.
And that's what this, a relief valve. And then when the show is over, down here is a drain, because you feel drained. And then of course this right here, you want to really hear what people have to say about your work. Like, oh, look at that stuff, it's crazy. But inside of this is a stairwell that goes all the way to the top. And I will tell you this, that if I ever go to a hospital and need brain surgery, which could happen, I would hope that my doctor had been to college and graduated. But not everybody who goes to college graduates. And so, or in the art world, not everybody is going to be successful, even though you go to college. And so this stairwell goes absolutely nowhere. It goes to the top and stops. Whereas this one here goes all the way to the top, and so does that one. But this one here might be like somebody like a Paris Hilton, whose parents bought her way to the top. I don't know what she has to offer, but I'm just saying. And so then there are those of us who have gone to college 3 or 4 times and never graduated, and it was just like, I can't stand sitting here. But anyways, that's kind of where I'm at. I feel that this has been successful for me, if nothing else, one time in my life to say, hey everybody, here's what I've got to offer to society. Hope you all enjoy it, you know, kind of a thing. So, anybody have any questions?
Well, we are